They appeared on the list of weapons being transferred to Ukraine first time and were kept secret until the last moment. They are capable of destroying any fortified area, concentration of equipment and enemy personnel on the front, as well as Russian military enterprises in the rear, because they can fly hundreds of kilometers.
Guided precision bomb JSOW, which in principle can significantly influence the situation directly on the battlefield.
While remaining undetectable to enemy radar and immune to air defense systems, these bombs have every chance to become the new superweapon for our pilots.
It will be hard for these bombs for the Russians to intercept them.
Why did the USA finally decide to transfer this weapon to us? What are the Ukrainian F-16s capable of now? How did the Kremlin react to the delivery of JSOW bombs to us? And how are our engineers preparing to convert them into cruise missiles that can fly more than 1,000 kilometers? All about this right now in Arsenal. Our American partners remain silent about their transfer to Ukraine until the very last moment. For more than a week, global media have been discussing when the US would announce a new aid package to official Kyiv and see what it would include. And finally, the announcement was made yesterday.
Today, I am proud to announce the allocation of a new aid package to Ukraine worth $4 billion. I have also instructed the Pentagon to allocate, by the end of my presidential term, that is by January 20th, all remaining funds for Ukraine's security.
Much remains secret, however. The contents of the upcoming delivery worth $375 million have already been disclosed. It includes, in particular, shells for HIMARS, a range of anti-tank weapons, armored personnel carriers, and armored vehicles, artillery ammunition. But the most interesting part is that for the first time, a certain wording appears. Air-to-ground class munitions.
These are guided aerial bombs, specifically the AGM-154 type, which have been produced since 1999. There are several types of these bombs, and their production started back in 1999. The AGM-154, also known as the Joint Standoff Weapon, JSOW, is a family of low-cost air-to-surface glide weapons. This is generally the cost of one aerial bomb is approximately up to $300,000. There are modifications, explosive and armor-piercing, priced between $500,000 to $700,000.
Analysts claim that Ukraine will receive cluster types of munitions. They are cheaper, there are incomparably more of them in stock, and most importantly, they are the most suitable for the current tasks of the Ukrainian armed forces.
The main part, of course, was the production of GM-154 munitions. These are cluster munitions that carry 145 sub-munitions on board, which are capable of causing virtually the same damage as a missile strike from a cluster type like ATACMS.
What sets them from ATAC is only the range of impact, and importantly the absence of restrictions on their use. Across the territory of the Russian Federation,
we are essentially talking about a munition capable of striking targets at a range of up to 130 kilometers depending on the drop altitude. This is on the condition, to be continued, of a launch from an altitude of 22 kilometers. If we are talking about launches from an F-16, then most likely it will be about launches from an altitude of around 10 to 14 kilometers. This, as a rule, will allow these munitions to reach deep into the territory at a range of about 70-80 kilometers.
However, as it turned out, dozens of kilometers are far from the limit for JSOW. Experts note that the aerial bomb has a very clever modification, thanks to which it can already fly like a full-fledged missile.
There are very cautious assumptions that the JSOW can be converted into a cruise missile. Such solutions exist in the USA. This version, called the JSOR, was developed and began testing back in 2009.
There is a modification of these aerial bombs controlled with an additional onboard engine, which allows increasing the flight range of such a munition to about 560 kilometers.
At At the same time, such engines are not something special, experts say. If the Americans provide us with standard versions, our engineers will be able to produce the engines independently if desired. Or, let's say, based on the blueprints provided to us if the USA does not want to officially acknowledge the transfer of high long-range aerial bombs. At any range, JSOW is undoubtedly a verdict for the Russians. Analysts say fighting them is only possible with extremely advanced anti-aircraft missile systems with such capabilities that Russian technology simply does not have.
It is practically impossible to counteract the munitions due to several parameters. Firstly, these munitions have a low reflection coefficient, which makes them, in essence, virtually stealthy. At the same time, they remain highly accurate, have high aerodynamic characteristics, which allow them to adjust the flight of the aerial bomb, thus also increasing the flight range. Moreover, they fly at a fairly high speed, about 960 kilometers per hour.
And they fly quite accurately. At maximum range, the possible deviation does not exceed a few meters. The aerial bomb itself has several control and targeting systems that prevent interference from electronic warfare systems.
Satellite in the navigation system or inertial navigation system, and in the final stage of flight, a so-called infrared homing head can be used.
At the same time, with a cluster warhead, the target's destruction is guaranteed. Because it's not just one charge flying to the point, but 1,500 explosive elements.
In the cluster variant, this aerial bomb is generally used for striking, for example, an enemy airfield, to ensure that, considering in a practical sense aviation-oriented equipment or armored equipment, such as it can inflict significant and considerable damage on enemy concentrations, that bombs, equipment, of course.
JSOW link is mainly used with F-16s. They can cover a full set of armaments for the Ukrainian fighters. Partners only need to decide on the transfer of long-range missiles.
Considering the new ammunition, Ukraine will be receiving munitions. These are AGM-154 HARM, air-to-ground missiles. This is the further acquisition of so-called smart bombs, the JDAM kits, which are essentially the same type of armament as the Russian KBs. These include small diameter bombs, SDB, and also air-to-air missiles. These are AIM-20 or AIM-9X, which are designed to destroy aerial targets.
At the same time, analysts associate the delivery of all these munitions with the additional dispatch of Western fighter jets to us. After all, it would be foolish to transfer aviation armaments without the aircraft themselves. If you liked this video, then don't forget to give it a like, comment on what other types of weapons and equipment you would like to learn about, and be sure to subscribe to our new Arsenal channel. The link is in the description below the video.